Good morning, Kev. Good morning, Daryl, Loretta. Hey, Ash. Hey, Will. Welcome, Nicole. Hey, Kirsty. Hey, Rina. Nice to see everybody. Yoshi, good morning. Renee. How did everyone go with their breathing practice this last few days? Have you noticed your breath a little more, maybe? Paid attention somewhat? Yeah, a couple of nods.
Every now and then, in between here and there.
Excellent, that's the plan. Hi Pam, hi Caitlin. Morning Jules. Nice to see you all. So as you check in with each of these sessions, each time you drop in and maybe when I'm just kind of chatting and telling you a few things, just start to practice that full yoga breathing. So use that, or in the very least the abdominal breath as your kind of, your drop-in breath each and every time we connect. I mean, ideally, something that we start practicing all the time. But at least when you're here with me, let my face inspire you to start that deep breath. Good morning, Nicola.
Morning.
And Elijah, if he's there.
He's
Yeah, you're there, good.
Am I the only one so far?
Oh no, there's a full house.
Oh, it's so weird. I logged onto the iPad instead this morning and it's only showing me. Hang on.
Morning, Lauren.
That it's just me. I can only see myself, so that's fine. I'll mute myself.
Morning, Grace. Morning, Alex, as well with Daryl. So as suggested, when you drop in, when you check in, those deep breaths, deep abdominal breaths, or deep full yoga breaths, if we could. Still got a few people coming in. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Morning, Helen. Morning, Marissa. Any questions at all before we dive in to today's session? Morning, Patrick.
Hi.
Morning, Sil. Nice to see you. Okay, and morning, Joe. And here comes George. Okay, so we've I'm going to mute everyone. There we go. Of course, at any point, if you need to say anything urgently, then feel free to unmute. Now, so we've been practicing in the last few days, we've been practicing our full yoga breathing. And those who've just arrived, just start practicing that full yoga breath as I talk. And that trains us to essentially to breathe deeply. And so I encourage you to, whenever you can, at each moment during the day, whenever you bring your awareness to it, thank you, to essentially
recording in progress.
Let's record that. To essentially bring your awareness to your breath as much as you can throughout the day. Awareness to the breath will do wonders for your state of mind. Now, once we've established the full yoga breath, the next pranayama technique, which is one of the techniques you'll learn in most yoga classes, is the Ujjayi breath. So most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this technique, but again here we're kind of revising, and then through the revision then we get to dive deeper, and through the practice, of course. So Ujjayi breath is that breath that we're often encouraged to bring into our asana practice, so into the physical practice of yoga. But it also becomes a foundational breath for our pranayama practice. So a lot of the pranayams that we work with, if they use this Ujjayi sensitivity, then they become more powerful. So Ujjayi breath is the breath where we create that little constriction at the throat, like you're giving the throat a little squeeze. It's nicknamed or translated as the victorious breath, Ujjayi breath. And it's victorious in the sense that it has a sense of power to it. It really brings in this idea of, okay, now we are controlling our breath. And this is one of the aspects of pranayama, that we are becoming conscious controllers of our breath. The breath happens naturally all the time, and that's absolutely fine. But when we start to bring in this conscious element of, okay, I'm able to alter my breath somewhat, that's when the magic really starts to happen. So the Ujjayi breath becomes the next foundational breath. The full yoga breath is for the foundation for deep breathing, and then the Ujjayi for bringing in a little further control. So the breath in itself is, as I said, we create like a constriction or contraction in the throat. And what this means is we've got the epiglottis, that's the swallowing reflex in the throat. And so it's activating this epiglottis, which is something you do naturally. So you do it naturally when you're drinking water, when you're swallowing food. That action, that's the epiglottis being controlled, being involved. But the idea is that we activate this just with the breath. And so what it is, it's like we're squeezing the throat slightly. So you can imagine the esophagus, the tube which allows the breath in down the throat. We imagine that tube gets wider and smaller, and we use a muscular contraction to actually make it a little smaller. And so why are we doing that? We're doing that because that then starts to slow the breath down. If you imagine you've got a tube, if it's bigger, more air can come in. If it's smaller, air comes in, but it has to be drawn in a little slower. And so this helps to start to actually control that deeper breathing rhythm. So it helps to slow the breath down, And then this in turn helps to become the foundation for our other breathing practices. We'll get into next week or on Thursday the alternate nostril breath, Nadi Shodhana, which some of you I'm sure are familiar with. But you imagine that one as a slow breath. If we bring in the Ujjayi, then that helps to really slow the whole process down and make it more sustainable and deeper. So with with our asana practice, we're also taught that this breath helps to deepen the practice, where we're feeling the connection to the breath because we feel the vibration. So it helps the mind also draw a little more inwards with that connection to the breath. And within the asana itself, there is this sense of, through this contraction, a little turbulence occurs as well, a slight turbulence which actually heats the breath just very subtly. But this is all very subtle stuff that we're starting to explore. But very subtly heats the breath as this turbulence happens at the throat and enters the lungs. So a little bit more warmth through the oxygen travels into the blood. And so when we're practicing our yoga, then there's just that slight more warmth in the blood. So it allows us to maybe stretch a little further, go a little deeper with our physical practice. So let's try this. Let's try our Ujjayi breath. Now, how do we create that constriction or constriction? Imagine you're fogging up a mirror. So you bring your hand out in front and you've got that mirror there and you're fogging it up. What do? You go. So let's all try that. Just with the out breath, a big. So you feel the warmth of the breath on the hand, fogging up your mirror. So that's it. So that's purely it. That's the contraction, the constriction in the throat that activates the epiglottis. But what we do is we actually close the mouth and we breathe in and out of the nose, and we create the same action on the inhale as the exhale. So it's a. Now, I was doing the exaggerated version. You were hearing my sound. And that's where we need to find that balance of not working that action too strong. Some people who think, I know my Ujjayi breath, those yogis who are next to you on the mat and you can hear them or from a mile away, the other end of the room, they're deep Ujjayi breath. But actually, they're probably exaggerating, really. We shouldn't need to be hearing someone else's breath. We should only hear our own breath. Because if you're exaggerating it, you're actually, you're creating stress on the throat. And we're aiming to we're aiming to de-stress. We're aiming to do the opposite. So it's a real gentle constriction. So just so you can hear it internally. So let's try to practice this together. Let's try and work this rhythm. So in and out. We'll work for a count of 7. So my 7. But mindful of your lung capacity. You've been practicing your deep breathing the last few days. So maybe we've increased that lung capacity already a little bit. But some of us, of course, will naturally have a deeper capacity than the others. So work with me for 7 if you can. But if that 7, if you're starting to gasp for air, then just in your own time, take it down to 6 or 5, whatever feels right for you. So let's try that. And make it, as much as we can for now, a connected breath. So no pauses, no gaps. So let's start. Let's release this current breath. Ujjayi breath, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So close the eyes and go really internally with it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in. So keep working in your own time. So if you need to lengthen that or shorten that, as feels right for you. I'll just say a few things as you breathe. So still working with this rhythm. Now still consider that we're expanding the lungs in all the directions with this breath. So feel with that inhale, the lungs are expanding long ways, up into the throat, down into the belly. They're expanding sideways, out through the rib cage, through the front and through the back of the chest. And as you exhale, you're gently just releasing, squeezing the breath out. Sometimes when we work our Ujjayi breath with the asana, we're encouraged to engage the core so that that abdominal action of expansion of the abdomen doesn't happen as much, as strongly. And that's purely because when you're working with your asana, a little core engagement is really useful to essentially do that, to tap into our inner core and protect the lower back, protect the body. But when we're just breathing the Ujjayi breath for pranayama, you can still take that breath down into the belly, but without maybe just finding that nice balance of, does the belly need to really expand here? Or can we draw the belly in a little, but still we're expanding that diaphragm down as far as it goes. So that length action of the lungs is still happening, whether there is a slight resistance with the belly or not. Now keep breathing this rhythm. In for 7 and out for 7. And then what I'd like you to start to bring into this rhythm now, after the next couple of breaths, is Kumbhaka, a retention. So we're going to bring in an internal retention, just a very short one to start with. So we're breathing in for 7. Once the lungs are filled up, we're going to hold the breath for 3. And then we breathe out again for 7. So in your own time again, but breathing in and then taking that little conscious pause. We call this a Kumbhaka. And then gently out for 7. So just notice how that pause makes you feel. Notice how the whole process makes you feel. Pay particular attention to the pause, to the gap, to the conscious gap that we're expanding upon. So in actual fact, if after a few of these breaths you're finding that that gap is quite fine, quite easy to hold, then maybe increase it to 4. Or even to 5, ultimately working up to 7, the same count as our in-breath and out-breath. Don't go to jump to conclusions, just work there gradually. And if instead things aren't seeming comfortable, you're feeling a little nervous or stressed in any way, then reduce that gap, reduce that kumbhaka, that retention. So I'm just going to leave you practicing that for the next couple of minutes. In breath is 7, out breath is 7, or same length, whichever count you take. And that little gap of holding the breath in is what feels good for you, without getting nervous or stressed in any way. Good. So after the next exhale, just release this technique and just come back to your abdominal breath. Even let go of the Ujjayi for now. Just a nice deep breath. Well done. Now let's go a little step further. Let's bring in what we call Viloma. Viloma is where we actually stagger the inhale to help build this idea of this get comfortable with these retentions. So you could imagine some steps maybe. So as you go up, as you see the step, the upward part of the trajectory of the step, that's the inhale. Across the top of the step is the retention. Then we keep going. There's 3 steps, and we go up is the inhale. Across the top is the retention. Then we go up a little further, inhaling, and then across the top a deeper retention, and then the exhale is like the slide going down in one continuous movement. So those steps were all on the one inhale. So it's like we're dividing almost the lungs into 3 sections. You could say that belly section, the chest section, and the top section. So we're filling the lungs up little by little with a little gap, a little pause. So I'm going to guide you now through this breath, and we're breathing even deeper now. Hopefully the lungs have already worked up a little bit of capacity for what we've done so far. But again, just if it doesn't feel comfortable, then bring it back down. Shorten the count. But the aim is to count in for 3, hold for 3, in for 3, hold for 3, in for 3, hold for 5, a little deeper, and then out for 10, nice and slowly. So we're using the Ujjayi breath, so that we can control those steps. So let's try that together. Releasing the current breath. And breathing in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take a couple of normal breaths in between. That's our first go at this. Takes a while for the lungs to get used to that rhythm. Now though, let's try it continuously for a little while. But up to your capacity. If at any point it doesn't feel comfortable, if you're getting dizzy or spaced out, then just let it go and come back to your regular Ujjayi. But let's see how we go. Release the current breath. And breathing in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in, and now in your own time. In your own time, the same rhythm. Keep it going for another couple of rounds. And after the next exhale, after finishing the next round, just releasing that rhythm, come back to your regular abdominal breath. Just a relaxing breath now. Keep the eyes closed and just tune into how you feel. Observe the sensations you feel in the body. Observe the sensations you feel in the mind. And then reverse the process. And now come back to your Ujjayi breath. Just that gentle Ujjayi. In for 7. And out for 7. With a little gap on the inhale, after the inhale if you like. That little retention. But without forcing it. Maybe just so it's a spontaneous retention, without even needing to count it. And paying particular attention to that, the spontaneity of that retention. Notice how everything pauses, how there is this gap that we've created in the breath. And the aim is we're aiming to also reflect that gap within the mind itself. So like a spontaneous gap between your thoughts. A couple more minutes just practicing that in your own time. Embracing the gap, embracing the space. And then after the next exhale, come back to your slow abdominal breath. And so today we've explored a few rhythms. We've explored our Ujjayi breath, which, as I said, becomes another foundational technique for our pranayama practice. But we've also begun exploring Kumbhakas. Now, Kumbhaka is the Sanskrit word for retention. So we explored an internal retention, which is antar Kumbhaka. And these retentions is where the magic of pranayama really starts to happen. On various levels, and I'll send you some more information on these actual Kumbhakas, because otherwise I'll talk for another half an hour. But essentially, in a nutshell, on a physical level, there's this thing that's called cellular respiration, which happens, which actually increases carbon dioxide. We tend to think, we want to decrease it, but in this effect, it actually helps to strengthen our nervous system and also activates certain synapses within the brain. So So it's actually a beneficial way of increasing carbon dioxide. But on a pranic level, energetically, it's actually boosting the prana. You think of a pressure cooker. That's kind of what's happening on these retentions. This pressure of prana is actually increased in our system. So it's giving us this extra charge, charging up our system, charging up our pranic body, our pranic energy. So as long as it's within our capacity, so we need to be really mindful here that we're not forcing. If it starts to get uncomfortable and we start to get nervous, then we're actually putting too much pressure on the nervous system. So it's actually not beneficial in that sense. So we need to be really careful and really mindful of working those retentions to our capacity. But after some time, ultimately, the idea is that we build those retentions so we can hold the breath for extended period of times to really boost that energy, that prana. So that brings us to 8 o'clock. So I'm going to have to finish there as far as if anyone needs to leave. I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Ash.
Bye, Mickey.
But if anyone
Bye,
wants to
guys.
hang around and ask any questions, you're most
I have
welcome.
one question before I have to leave.
Yes, Kevin.
Thank you.
When I'm doing that, like I feel totally relaxed and everything, and my gap I can hold that quite a lot because I'm used to doing Wim Hof as well. But I really strongly feel my heartbeat in my right side, which I actually use for the counting, so I don't count in my head. I count on how my heartbeat feels, but the heartbeat becomes way more pronounced. What's that about?
Good question. I mean, I would say off the top of my head that that you're just increasing your awareness of that. But also, I mean, I would imagine that through our retentions, once it would boost the beating of the heart. It would actually increase it. So I know, I'll have to double check, but I know that if people suffer from certain blood pressure issues, then sometimes this isn't actually recommended to work with Kumbhakas. Because it will essentially increase the blood pressure. So we need to be mindful of that as well.
The spot where I feel it is maybe just something has to do with something in that area, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it like by my liver.
Wow.
I did drink wine yesterday actually, so.
Well, there you go. Probably
Okay.
good one though.
Yeah,
But
very much.
I'll have a look at some information on that and get back to you to confirm.
Cool, thank you. Have a good one, Mickey.
Thanks, Kevin. Joelle says she feels slightly less stressed. That's good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Alex.
Yeah. Well, I read a book called Breath. It's a bit more scientific in terms of the way they explain the breathing and how it works and all that. But I wonder if you have any nice books to recommend on this from the yoga side, kind of explaining if we want to get deeper in knowledge.
Absolutely. This book here.
Okay.
So I'll put it in the email so that so that you have that as a reference. This
That kind of explained what Kevin was asking, but I don't want to it's a good book to read. I think so. Instead of explaining it, maybe we could recommend him to read about that in that book, because it's very cellular level and explains what happens when you retain and you breathe and how the cellular system works. And
fantastic. Well, if you could share that with me, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. It's very nice book, but it's funny how from the scientific point of view, gets to the same conclusions as I've seen, like what I hear you talking, and the rhythms and everything. At the end, like the conclusion is similar to what the yoga approach has got to. So it's very interesting in that sense.
Yeah, wonderful. I don't know if you looked at the little article I sent in the last email, but that was also looking at it from the scientific point of view. But you're right. It's kind of like the conclusions are like, well, actually, that's what the yogis were saying thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And now science has caught up.
It's like also studying that, like what yogis been doing and other cultures about breathing, and like, but trying to see it from that point of view, and I'm understanding it at that level.
Yeah.
I was
Kirsty.
I've been investigating Buteyko breathing methods before
Oh,
this. And I've been actually talking to Nick and Nicola about it, and then that's when she told me, I'm doing this I'm about to start this breathing course for the month, and they both sounded very similar, like the methods and the science behind them both sounded the same, and that's when I thought, well, I'm going to try this one first and see how I go, because I don't know if you've heard of the Buteyko, but it's $1,000. For 4 sessions. So,
Oh wow, maybe I should increase my price a bit.
When I read it, I was like, I need this. So I was trying to manifest like this money so I could do this course. And then Nick came to me with this course, and I went, oh, well, actually, maybe this is what I'm manifesting. And yeah, like I'm finding it really interesting, and I'm loving hearing from Alex. Your name's Daryl on the screen, but everyone calls you Alex. Yeah, because what you're talking about has been what I've been reading and researching as well, and realizing I've been breathing wrong my entire life. I've been breathing with my chest. I haven't been breathing with my diaphragm at all. I've never been a good singer, and I think it all comes down to the fact I've never breathed properly ever in my whole life. So like some of these, like the Yanami and stuff, like I said that wrong, I'm sorry.
Ujjayi.
Yeah, Ujjayi. I felt like my chest was getting really tight at the top when I was doing it, and I wasn't getting as much breath in, but I think I expected it to be a deep breath like the diaphragm breathing at the start, and then I realized as we were doing it more that, you know, I'm probably trying to strengthen more of another part of my, system that I haven't never strengthened before. So there'll be a lot of different feelings for me and stuff. But I actually got numb feet. I had to keep moving because my feet got numb. But that might be, I've been moving house and doing a lot of stuff this weekend, so maybe that's got a lot to do with that. But yeah, I can't keep up with the breaths. I'm impressed. But if anything, I really want to extend that out with breath. I found I really struggled with that I wanted to keep going past the 7, and you're already like breathing in and I'm still breathing out. So yeah, I don't know if that's part of what I need to exercise, is being able to shorten that out. Right?
Well, look, I mean, ultimately we can play around, and I'll get into that over the coming weeks, but we play around with the rhythms. So it's actually a longer out breath is actually, look, it's not like necessarily better, but it can be recommended to expand the out breath, because that's all about the parasympathetic, the out breath. The in breath is more the sympathetic. So the out breath actually, if that's longer, then generally speaking, that means you're going to feel more relaxed and more at ease. I mean,
I can't wait to see how I feel after the 9 sessions, because after 2 I'm already like, wow, I'm learning so much about my body. And I've been doing yoga and all different things, but I just never got this breath work right.
I'm glad to hear, Kirsty. That's awesome. And on the Buteyko, actually, I've never practiced it personally, but my partner Cardia, her brother, he had asthma when he was young, and he did the Buteyko method, and it cured his asthma. So, you know,
that's what drew me to it.
It's I'm sure it is a powerful technique, but I would say that that predominates. It's based on pranayama.
So.
I just want to say that I feel my whole body feeling tingling in a good way, like energized. Like I feel like I could go for a run now, and I don't run. and and also that I really started to really enjoy that pause at the end of the exhale, like it was something I could get. I was really comfortable in it, not addicted to, but just seeking that, like that stillness. I think. I don't know. Is that? Would you say that's something that you find, Mickey?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, that's what I was suggesting there. You know, when you take that pause, just feel into how does that feel. You know, become aware of that gap, of that pause, and that's ultimately what we're then moving into through this practice into meditation. And so that's the taste of that. That's the stillness of the meditation practice that can bring us to. So the pranayama kind of trains us in a way and gives us that mirror image of what we're wanting to create within our own minds, is that gap between the thoughts. Thought arises, thought subsides, thought arises, thoughts go crazy all the time, but when we start to do this breath, then they slow down. In Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras, the second sutra is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which literally means yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. So that's kind of like the key to what we're aiming to do here with this practice, with our yoga practice, is to first of all to slow down the fluctuations of the mind. So slow down the thoughts and the emotions and whatnot. But then ultimately is to create those gaps where it's almost like, like the mind, that famous analogy of the mind is or beyond the mind really is the clear blue sky, and the mind is all the clouds that prevent us from accessing the clear blue sky. And so, when we open up the clouds, we reveal the inner nature, the inner light of awareness within us. And that's so you are obviously tapping into that.
It's really nice. And I've got a monkey mind times 100, and I think that's probably the first time in a while, especially since this whole past 2 years or 18 months, that I've just sat still in a really uncomplicated way, I think, without trying too hard. And just to Christy, on your point about singing, my daughter does singing lessons, and when she started, she sang a song that she learnt, and then 6 weeks later, after she learnt to breathe properly, we were floored at the improvement in her. It was incredible. So you're going to become a really good singer now.
Yeah, I can see a lot of benefits from practicing this regularly.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vicky, for coming along today. And I'll send you a bit of info on all of that, what we've practiced, and I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday.